our big story of the week is talking about cutting interest rate 3 times in 2024, although it seems like they're going to backload them for the second half of the year. They haven't committed to any short-term rate cuts. They wanted to see what happens with inflation. The Fed is very well aware of inflation. In fact, they've moved their target rate from 2% inflation to 2.8% because, as I've stated many times, structural inflation caused by excess money printing, which caused inflation of the money supply, means that we're going to have structural inflation whether or not we go into deflation in terms of economic output. So how does that work? Well, you've had so much money creation and so much de-dollarization from around the world that all of those dollars, colloquially called Eurodollar accounts, even though those dollars don't have to be in Europe, they could be anywhere. Any foreign dollar bank account or holding is called a Eurodollar account. That money's starting to come back to the US as the rest of the world de-dollarizes. So we're getting inflation. It's a reverse of what happened before. We would export our dollar inflation to the rest of the world. Now we're getting that inflation back. And so we're having inflation in prices, even though our economic output is shrinking and the rest of the world's economic output is shrinking. So for years, the debate has been in the economic space, are we going to have inflation or deflation? And I've always argued we would have both. We'll have a deflation of economic output, but because of the money supply finally rearing its head and showing up in the economy, we're going to have an inflation of prices at the same time. We're also going to have an inflation of prices because commodity prices are going up because we haven't invested enough in the commodities complex and it's getting harder to find resources. Not only precious metals, but any sort of resources, any sort of metal. Farming has gotten more expensive. So inputs into our economy are more expensive, even though we're producing less. And because we're producing less, that's going to negatively affect availability of goods. So we're going to have inflation of prices, even though economic output is coming down. And I've said this for 15 years. People thought I was nuts, but that's exactly what we're seeing in the data right now. Period. End of story. It is irrefutable.